FIA Formula 3 European Championship from Hockenheim is about to get underway. It is a 35-minute race maximum. We're just looking to see whether we are going to have 2 warming up laps because the road is wet, but there's no suggestion of that, nor is there an indication that it might even be a safety car start. So the race director is content to let them go on this greasy road, but they're going to have to be careful for the first few corners because they're going to be assessing grip levels and, of course, they're going to be on cold tyres.
Yes, so it really is going to be very experimental, isn't it? The first lap around now. They're on their formation lap, as David has said. We've got no messages up on the screen which says there's going to be 2 laps, or indeed certainly not behind the safety car, but just look at the spray that's being chucked up. There's still lots of water out there, David.
And this part of the circuit perhaps more than anywhere, and I was also just looking at the amount of water that is offline, and that's another hazard, of course, because if you do get a run, and that run to the hairpin through the parabolica up to the hairpin is where you can overtake. To do the overtaking, you've got to go offline, and you're therefore in more water. Let's have a look at the grid. Felix Rosenqvist will start on pole alongside Antonio Giovinazzi, ahead of Maximilian Günther and Charles Leclerc, Silverstone winner 4th, ahead of Lance Stroll and Jake Dennis. Then it's Brandon Maisano from Raoul Heimann. Good job for Westtech that. He is ahead of Marcus Pommer and Sergio Seta Camara. Then it's Gustavo Menezes ahead of Arjun Maini, Mikkel Jensen's ahead of Santino Ferrucci, Michele Beretta ahead of Nicholas Beer. And as you scroll through the grid, other names to keep an eye to: Pietro Fittipaldi, one to watch, moving up from Formula Renault from the UK last year. Nabil Jeffrey moving up from the German Championship. Tatiana Caldron back for another season. And right at the very back is Alexander Albon, who drove in the Silverstone races effectively enough. He's 6th in the championship, but he had an off early on in the qualifying session yesterday, caused a red flag, couldn't get out. Sorry, I'm telling you a lie in saying all this. He did have an off, and he couldn't go back out again, caused a red flag. The damage to the car wasn't too great, but he did cause a stoppage and therefore finds himself at the back of the grid, and there's somebody that's had a drama by the look of it going into the stadium there. So whether that was because they'd gained places on the lap and are backing off to get the right grid position, not sure.
Maybe. That car is going again now.
Yeah.
Can see from our commentary position here that the car is rejoining. So be out of place, of course, and tries to make the places back up. But yeah, certainly had an off there.
Oh, it is an off, and there's the answer as to who it is. It's number 17, Julio Moreno, the Ecuadorian, who has hit something or somebody, and with broken front right suspension, that is, to quote from the Latin, a non-starter.
Yes. Now, interestingly, that wasn't the car that I saw on the grass.
Right.
So, whoever was punted,
yes,
was punted onto the grass and has rejoined.
Okay.
But well, that clearly is not going to rejoin.
No, Moreno ain't going to go much further in this one, I'm afraid, as 1 or 2 drivers trying to wriggle their way into position on the grid. It's one of the Jagonia I Am cars there. Gustavo Menezes, look, who's out of sequence and now has to wriggle ahead of Mikkel Jensen to get himself into the grid position. 22 laps this will be, but in the wet it'll be a slower race pace, so you need to keep an eye to the 35-minute maximum time allowed. And Julio Moreno's car is about to stagger down the pit lane, so Moreno, I'm afraid to say, there he is a non-starter in the 3-bond with T-Sport run Dallara. That's got the Neil Brown engineering engine I talked about on the grid. It was really Mercedes versus Volkswagen. There is the NBE option, but I'm afraid you've lost one of them because it's down the pit lane, the car with broken suspension. So, round 4 of the FIA Formula 3 European Championship is about to get underway. 4 red lights, 5 red lights, engine notes rise. It's blast off, and a good start is made eventually by Rosenqvist. He did get a bit of wheel spin, and so did Giovinazzi, so neither of them really benefited. And on that staggered grid, it's Rosenqvist who leads as they dive down towards turn 1. They all run a little bit wide. There's a run-off tarmac there to save them. No one has come to grief, but now look at the spray that is being kicked up as they work their way now up towards the Nord curve. 3 wide for 3rd place. It is Rosenqvist ahead of Giovinazzi, and Jake Dennis going right round the outside.
What a brilliant move by Jake Dennis there. He just hung it on the outside as we've got a spinner going round as well. But he hung it on the outside. He was absolutely committed to it, and he obviously managed to find the grip, but he's being challenged now.
You can often in weather conditions like this find a bit of grip on the very outside of the line, and Jake Dennis is still under attack coming through the Paraboricas. The race leaders go side by side now. Absolutely level. Rosenqvist versus Giovinazzi. And as they break for the Parabolica hairpin at the end of it, Charles Leclerc was the man attacking Jake Dennis. Now, what happens to the lead? Giovinazzi has gone through. Antonio Giovinazzi leads the way, but Felix Rosenqvist is all over him now like a cheap suit, and side by side for 3rd. Charles Leclerc, who won at Silverstone, is ahead of Jake Dennis then. He's making good progress, but Giovinazzi leads the way as they work their way then for the first time through the Mercedes arena, and then they'll work their way down towards the stadium. They've paired off a little bit, haven't they? The top two broken away already.
Yes, absolutely. And, well, Felix Rosenqvist then, he was all over the back of Leclerc there as well. You just see there Jake Dennis pull out of the spray, if only for visibility reasons as well. And he just made that outside move work really, really well. He's lost out now, unfortunately, but, well, the early stages of this, very exciting.
Absolutely right, as the field then works its way down to the stadium for the first time. People trying to gain position, but also looking for traction all the while. Great little battle pack there as the field wriggles through for the first time. And already the driving standards flags are coming, and they're coming for the race leader, because Antonio Giovinazzi is being given a driving standards flag for more than one change of direction. So there's us saying what a great battle for the lead it is. The race director is rather less disposed to the jollity of all of this, because he's going to clamp down on it. I suppose in these conditions you can sort of take his point of view with all the spray being kicked up as well. But Giovinazzi then, having got the lead, look, has gone. And also, look at the line they take heading up towards the hairpin, going for the wetter part of the road already.
Does that not play into what I was saying? If someone were to take that gamble right at the very, very start, because we can see that line already, but I still think that perhaps, well, not perhaps, absolutely, you are right, because it's still too wet out there, isn't it?
What you need is for the road to dry and then have a safety car that bunches everybody up.
That would work.
And then, if you don't lose a lap by changing tyres, you could buy back into it. Little scrap going on there, because you've got Matt Rao in the Fortec car, the reigning British champion, looking for a way up on the inside as the cars head to the hairpin through the parabolica. Fastest part of the circuit, this. And Callum Illett is under attack now. He had a 10-place grid drop yesterday, and he loses a place there as well to Rao, but he fights back. Illett left the pit lane when the light was on red, so he got a grid drop for that. The Red Bull driver in the Carlin run, Dallara Volkswagen trying to retaliate, and he has done so, taking the place back, heading down to the Mercedes arena this time. Grip is still at a real premium.
The cars are skating, aren't they, around there?
Giovinazzi ahead of Rosenqvist, Leclerc third, Dennis fourth at the end of lap one. Fifth was Max Günther, and then in sixth place Lance Stroll, expected to all shuffle around again, and somebody that was in strife on the first lap, Nicholas Pola. I think he was the other casualty we had up at the second turn, at turn two, so he was a man that went off there. Sam McLeod turning into the stadium. So the race leader at the end of lap one, Antonio Giovinazzi, had a 9/10 of a second advantage. There you're looking at Pietro Fittipaldi, trying to find his way through traffic. Ahead of him is Nabil Jeffrey. And Pietro Fittipaldi, grandson of Emerson, stays in the traffic for the moment. The lead gap, though, Dave, is up to now 1.3 seconds. Giovinazzi, who uses the experience gained last year to good effect, leads the way. Great battle here as Gustavo Menezes now comes under attack from Sergio Santa Camara, and that is for 11th place. Now the other man to watch is Alex Albon, up from the back of the grid. He started, what, 35th? He's now running in 21st place, which is a very good effort, and in these conditions there's more ground to be gained. I think before the very end, 3 wide there in the mid-pack. Some cracking racing going on, and a man that's not making progress as yet is George Russell, who had a win at Silverstone in the second race. George didn't qualify so well. He was 18th on the grid, and at the moment, well, he's 15th. He's worked his way up the order a bit, but not enough, is it? Racing here for the first time.
Yes, absolutely. So Giovinazzi then with a margin of 1.3 seconds. Of course, what he's got is the advantage of having absolutely no spray being chucked up at him. And that, of course, Rosenqvist doesn't have the benefit of that. He's P2, and Giovinazzi 1.3 seconds up the road.
And not only that, but he's going to be further away on this lap, because he's just done 2 absolute bests in the sectors as his tyres are warming up, the fuel load is coming down, and the road is drying. Some heroics there. Look up on the inside. That was Raoul Hyman, the South African, getting himself up alongside Sergio Santa Camara, but he's not going to be able to stay there, I don't think. Great fight that they're having. And Raoul Hyman moving up from the BRDC F4 Championship, so a very different sort of single-seater for this year. But then he gets mugged, doesn't he, coming down towards the next sequence of corners, because up and past him goes Ryan Tveter, who steps up from Formula Renault. As those two run nose to tail, the leaders have gone across the timing line, and this a replay of the start. Have a look at Rosenqvist, because he goes and then sort of bogs down, but as Giovinazzi goes up through the gears, he also suffered wheel spin, so it was Rosenqvist that came out ahead.
The one that really got away well there was Jake Dennis.
Yeah, indeed so. But although he gained a spot or two on the first lap, he's dropped back down to 4th place. So it was a bit yo-yo, but that was the move, wasn't it? Round the outside, he found all the traction and the gaps opened up for him, and round he went. Really, really good opportunistic move, that. And this was Giovinazzi going for the lead on the outside. It was brave. And then have a look from a different angle. We didn't see this to begin with. He goes round the outside, he finds the traction, and so the best way to make sure he hangs on to that is to move across.
Shut the door.
Pretty vigorously, and so Rosenqvist goes the other way and he shuts it there as well. And there you can see Nicolas Pola with his broken suspension, very similar, of course, same corner to Julio Moreno that we lost pre-race. So we've done now 3 laps, and the man to watch potentially could be Charles Leclerc to see whether he can do anything about Rosenqvist for that second place. The gaps are opening up. You can see that for yourself, but it's partly because of the track conditions. It is hard to stay with somebody when you've got the spray being kicked up at you. Ryan Tvita there goes ahead of Callum Illett. So a good little fight going on between these two. And again, it's the lack of traction that does for Tvita there, isn't it? Because coming down through the Mercedes arena, just runs out of road, and up back past him goes Callum Illett.
Proving the point that it is still in places out there very, very waterlogged, isn't it?
Illett, in fairness, is trying to make some progress here, and Tvita is under attack once more from Raoul Hyman. They almost get themselves together as they work their way now towards the stadium. George Russell is the man at the back of that little group as well. For Carlin, he makes a move up the inside. He raced against Hyman in F4 last year, and Tvita a bit slow out of the corner ahead of them, so they all concertina up now. This is the other great thing about the championship. You talked about the strength of the entry. You've got people coming through different single-seater championships, all with good backgrounds,
yeah.
And then they all have to go head-to-head. And like we saw last year, reputations can be made or broken in this category. The race-leading gap is 1.3 seconds. Giovinazzi is still getting away from Rosenqvist. Then in third is Charles Leclerc, whose last lap was a 51.2. He is actually a little bit nearer to Rosenqvist for second place. A replay here of all sorts of dramas up at the hairpin, which does for Hongwei Cao. He gets tapped into a spin. Trying to see who it was that did the tapping there, but the Chinese driver is able to get the car back into the race. Even on a wet road manages to light up the tyres. Such is the annoyance, and he tries to get back into the race as quickly as possible. And also in replay, a bit of wheel banging. Tatiana Calderon getting together with Sam McLeod, and Tatiana Calderon's Carlin Delara swaps ends and is thankfully avoided. Meantime, this is the race leader. Antonio Giovinazzi leads, and the safety car is being deployed. The safety car is on track.
Now, this will play into the hands of Felix Rosenqvist, and to a degree, Leclerc as well, because what it will do is bunch them all up now. Interestingly, Giovinazzi, over the last couple of laps, hasn't been able to increase that margin between himself and Rosenqvist. So Rosenqvist is kind of lapping at a similar pace to him. 51.3 for Rosenqvist last time around, 51.2 for Giovinazzi. But all of a sudden now, with the safety car being deployed, bosh, they're all going to be together.
Absolutely right, and also, we've said it before, safety cars breed safety cars, so you get people all bunched up on a wet road. When you let them loose, it can all happen again, can't it? You've just seen, also leaving the pit lane there, Ji-Kong Lee, Peter Lee, who was the other one involved, I think, in the incident with Hongwei Cao. What I'm trying to work out is why the safety car has been deployed. We do have a mechanical warning flag being shown to Alessio Lorandi's Van Amersfoort Delara Volkswagen, but I haven't seen anything in a dangerous place that's brought out the safety car. So let's have a look as we do this lap now behind the BMW safety car to see if there's anything obvious. Also coming down the pit lane is Alessio Lorandi to have this mechanical drama attended to, so that gets him for the moment out of the headmaster's notebook. And all of these laps will count within the 22, but importantly, of course, they all count within 35 minutes. So it may be that we run out of racing laps relative to the clock come the end. But whether it's just to let people calm down because it's a wet road and there's been lots of spinning, or there's something more to it, I'm not quite sure. But we've not seen a car in an awkward place or a big accident or anything.
No, but we've seen races where there's perhaps been, they've been even livelier, and if ever anyone needed calming down, I'm just not sure.
That could be that there's a stray piece of bodywork somewhere, for example, but hopefully we'll get a shot soon to... Oh, now this could be the answer, because this is into the stadium, and yes, that would account for it. It's Pietro Fittipaldi off into the gravel. That would be enough based on what we saw here at the back end of last year to bring out the safety car. So Fittipaldi it is, and this is a replay you can see of the Muka Motorsports car of Michele Beretta in the mid-pack, looking to get past Matt Rao. Super slow-mo, showing you just how close the cars run, and there's a third in the middle of all of that as well, which is Arjun Maini, number 29, the Indian driver, another man stepping up from BLDC F4 in which he raced last year. So we are behind the safety car here at Hockenheim, round 4 of the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. Race leader is Antonio Giovinazzi. This is the reason that we now are confirmed for the safety car, Pietro Fittipaldi's car being hoiked out of the way. And as soon as that is in a safe place, and it won't take long, I think, bearing in mind that it's at the back of the paddock, really, where there are lots of access roads, then the race director will be ready to release the cars once more. It may be that he gives them a couple of laps to build up speed, given the conditions. So rather than just track clear, go, it might be one quick lap, one quicker lap, and then go racing, but we'll see. It's often what happens in GT racing. We'll see what the plan is. They've only been behind the safety car for a lap, so things won't have cooled down too much, but we'll see what the race director's decision is. When those lights that are flashing on top of the safety car go out, that's the indication that it will peel into the pit lane. Antonio Giovinazzi is a Carlin driver, he leads the way, and the Carlin engineers there, including the patron, is here. Yes, we're honoured. They're keeping a close eye on what's going on, and of course they will have the timing screen with the message line that will confirm when the safety car is due in, and then they can relay that to Antonio Giovinazzi, who will be on his toes to try to steal a march over the rest of them. Yeah, what he's got to try and do is back them up, isn't it, and then just get a flyer himself and leave them in his wake. That's what he'll be hoping to do, and it'll be interesting to see, with all the experience that Felix Rosenqvist has, if he can anticipate the way Giovinazzi is going to operate there in terms of the restarting after the safety car. You're right about stacking them up and then trying to make a break, but what you're not allowed to do is stack them up, then accelerate, and then slow again, because that just causes mayhem in the pack. And of course, he's already on a warning for moving more than once. So Headmaster is looking at him. Absolutely, and Antonio Giovinazzi, as you make the point, knows exactly how to do this. He's no stranger to Formula 3, having been a race winner in the championship last year. And he turns his way then out of the hairpin. The lights are still on top of the safety car. We do have, though, still a couple of cars playing catch-up after their pit stop. So it might be that the race director wants one line before he's content to release them. Safety car is in this lap, so the lights will be out any second. The safety car is in this time. We are currently on lap 7 out of 22 racing laps, question mark, 35 minutes maximum time. And there you can see Antonio Giovinazzi then, who leads the way, working his way towards the stadium. He's got Felix Rosenqvist right out behind him, and this is the lifeline for Rosenqvist. Although we are told the safety car is in this, yes, the lights are out now. I was about to say the lights are still on, but perfect timing. Out they go, and you can see that Giovinazzi backs them all up. They're weaving around to try and maintain, really, some temperature in the Hankook tyres, and it hasn't dried out enough, has it, for that possibility of slicks being really worth taking. So it's still very wet out there, and Giovinazzi has got them slowed right down. Of course, the other thing he's got to be mindful of is not falling too far away from the safety car, because that's bitten people in categories other than F3 in the past. Eventually, he will pick up the pace and go for it, but he has certainly lagged a long way behind the safety car. So once he's finished the next chapter on his Kindle, Giovinazzi will sprint away, I think, here, and we'll be in business. There he goes. Green flag is waved. Round 4, we're back in business, and it's going to be 3 for the lead, pretty much, isn't it? Because Rosenqvist is close to Giovinazzi. He's kept with him, and Charles Leclerc is not that far behind in 3rd spot. So let's see how they do then. Giovinazzi gets the green flag. Felix Rosenqvist is right with him. Following in his complete wheel tracks, now dives, takes a look at the inside. Giovinazzi goes through turn 1. Rosenqvist is right behind him. This is the one opportunity probably that Rosenqvist is going to be gifted to try and wrestle that lead back from Antonio Giovinazzi. But at the moment, Giovinazzi is having none of it. And the one that didn't really benefit was Jake Dennis, because he's having to defend that 4th place. Good scrap for 5th behind him there, because there's Maximilian Gunter battling with Lance Stroll, but really Jake Dennis has fallen too far back. So it's 3 for the lead just about. Giovinazzi, Rosenqvist, and then Charles Leclerc. And Leclerc, looking at it, is starting to drop away, isn't he, going through the parabolica. He was close through turns 1 and 2, but he has now fallen back. But Rosenqvist, that's good news for him, because he doesn't have to worry about his mirrors. He can concentrate on Giovinazzi. He brakes late, but he's got to be careful not to run wide and lose traction and lose time. relative to the race leader. Giovinazzi then into the Mercedes arena. He's leading, and I would suggest, Dave, he's getting away.
I would agree with you. Giovinazzi doing a great job from the restart, then from the safety car. Brilliant shot that we were able to bring you there, just really low down, proving just how wet that track still is as the cars skid through there and skid through there as well. But Giovinazzi has got it all completely under control, and Felix Rosenqvist at the moment has got nothing to throw at him.
That's right, so here they come then down towards the stadium, the famous part of the Hockenheim circuit, chopped around quite a long time ago now, but this modern version does deliver very good racing. And a big slide by Giovinazzi, and that's all it takes. You hook a wheel on that painted curb, and suddenly the world can change for you. That was a very good save by Giovinazzi, the Italian, all arms and elbows there, managed to hang on to it, and actually didn't lose too much time, nearly losing the lot though there as well. That was at 38, which is Raul Hyman, yeah. And he's going to lose at least one spot if he's not careful, isn't he? Because there you can see Sergio Cesar Camara trying to get him alongside. Wow, it's all happening.
Giovinazzi really covered that well, didn't he? Because, as you say, in these conditions, it's just, you know, 1/10 wrong, and you're on that painted curb, and, well, he saved that beautifully, didn't he? And Felix Rosenqvist not able to take huge advantage of that. As they cross the line then, what have we got? 7/10 between P1 and P2, and then a further 7/10 back to P3.
Giovinazzi in the colours of Jagonia I Am. Tasty chicken. Well, the race nearly went foul, didn't it, for him there? Because for one moment it was looking a bit touch and go. Sister car there, which is Gustavo Menezes. He's gaining ground because Raul Hyman goes way wide into turn 2, skips over the curb. That illustrates the benefit of that run-off tarmac put in for Formula 1 use. But if the gravel trap had been right there, he'd have been stuck potentially, and a safety car maybe, and it interrupts the flow of the race. So he's able to make a mistake, get back onto the road, and try and make amends for that little indiscretion. Giovinazzi then, on this lap, getting away slightly within sector 1. Menezes here having to defend for all he's worth, coming down towards the hairpin, because right up behind him is Santino Ferrucci, the teenager, on for a second season. Both of these two drivers came into the championship last year and damaged to the back of Nick Beer, the Dane, and he's winded himself by the look of it, because he's done a lot of rear damage and he's rattled himself around in the cockpit. So he will end up going to the medical centre for checks, and the safety car is out again. All concertinas up coming into the stadium, but the safety car is being deployed for the second time. What did I say about
plays into what you said? Yes, right.
So they can race until they get to the safety car boards, but there is the board, and the bedraggled marshals with the yellow flag, and the safety car has possibly been refueled, because it could be on for a long spell in this race if it carries on like this. And there you can understand it's not just Nick Beer's car. Tatiana Calderon's had a second moment. It may well be that the two incidents were connected. We saw Nicholas Beer, clambering out of his car, and Tatiana Calderon. Disappointing this, because on occasions last year, Tatiana had some good runs in the Muka Motorsport run car, and it looked as though she was progressing nicely, but Silverstone she was a bit anonymous, and we've seen, unfortunately, now twice in this one race, Tatiana Calderon being in the wars. So, we are behind the safety car again. Antonio Giovinazzi leads, Felix Rosenqvist is second, Charles Leclerc is third, Jake Dennis is fourth, fifth is Maximilian Günther, sixth is Lance Stroll, seventh is Marcus Pommer. In eighth place now it is Mikael Jensen, ninth currently is Brandon Maisano, and the top 10 is rounded out by Gustavo Menezes. Alex Albon from the back of the grid in 18th place, so that's pretty good from 35th, in fairness.
Well, I was just looking, and he's making far better progress than George Russell. George Russell's still mired down there in P15, hasn't gone forward really, has he?
You're right. Although, having said all of that, Albon is finding it harder to do the overtaking the higher up through the order he gets. There you can see the rear damage to Nicholas Beer's car, the Euro International car. Beer has gone barrelling off the road, sad to say. So the rear damage is done for him. There is the race leader, Antonio Giovinazzi, then brings the field under controlled conditions through the hairpin. We are on lap 10, but we've got 14.5 minutes to go. I think it's going to be time, not laps now. It's always going to be a bit marginal, but with two safety car periods, then it's looking as though it's going to be 4 o'clock. So Giovinazzi, who's run at Silverstone, as I say, netted points, if not wins, looking for a first victory of this season, but he had a second, a third and a second going across the 3 races, so he would have been on the podium if things stay as they are in each of the 4 races, and he's putting himself in a very good position early season for the championship. Now, I know in saying that there is a long way to go. It's a 33-race campaign, and last year we saw how the whole season twisted and turned. Some rounds it was Esteban Ocon with a huge gap, then he had a bad weekend, and Max Verstappen caught back up. Tom Blomqvist came back into the mix. So I'm not suggesting that Giovinazzi is going to be unstoppable, because it is a long campaign and a lot of things will still happen. But points early on are crucial, and it's that experience kicking in.
Yes, if you can bank those, as you say, you know, that comes good for you later in the season, doesn't it? You can perhaps afford to have 1 or 2 races where you don't meet your expectations and perhaps get what you think you should. But by banking points early on, well, Giovinazzi is in the position where, at the moment, being P1, of course, he's got to do the restart all over again. But Felix Rosenqvist didn't trouble him last time. They were close, but wasn't able to take advantage of that. He's going to have to do it all over again, Giovinazzi.
So cars being pushed out of the way, and as they come over the timing line, the gaps are all academic. The weaving is so they can try and maintain some of the warmth. I would, to go back to something you suggested a little while ago, agree that there is a drying line. We're not dry yet, but it is drier. The wet tyres dissipating the water. Nicholas Beer, when he got out of the car, I said, had rattled himself around a little bit, and he's going to have a neck support put on by the look of it, just to make sure that he's okay. Tatiana Calderon may also be attended to by the medics, just to make sure that she is okay, because there was damage to her car as well. So the medical team wanting to make sure that the drivers are okay. The teams have had a pretty busy weekend. This Friday afternoon race came after qualifying yesterday for this race. They've had a qualifying session this morning already for tomorrow's one race, and then there is race 3 on Sunday.
It's a very long weekend for them, isn't it? They would have arrived here Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah.
Big ask for the teams, isn't it?
It is indeed, but it's a championship these days that really has, in a very short space of time, proved its worth. I know that's partly because the domestic championships have fizzled, which was always really the aim of Gerhard Berger when he was the president of the FIA Single-Seater Commission, to make one premier Formula 3 championship and a kind of pyramid underneath that. But it has certainly paid off, and it is a very competitive championship. And you've got the top teams and the top drivers, and to win in this, to get them on the podium in this, you're really going to be good.
Yes. Well, Gerhard Berger, the architects, and now the Single-Seater Commission, it's Stefano Domenicali looking after things now.
Ex-Ferrari Formula 1 team,
yes.
Now let's try and piece together who did what to which and to whom. Look at the background, because there's wheel to wheel coming into shot. On the inside is Matt Rao, but I don't think that was the incident that's caused all the drama.
Well, the safety car is coming in this lap as we look at this replay, and the incident between Nicholas Beer and Tatiana Calderon is going to be under investigation.
Okay, so they did get together. Thanks for confirming that, Dave. We suspected it might be the case, didn't we, given that both had damage. So we have 10 3/4 minutes to go. It's going to be time, not laps, so keep an eye to the clock. It'll change nearer to the completion of 35 minutes of racing, but we've got just 10.5 of them still to go. Giovinazzi stacked them all up again, and Felix Rosenqvist, well, pre-race we talked about how many last chances can you have. He's been given another lifeline here to try and get the race lead, but again, Giovinazzi looks like he's timed his run to perfection. Rosenqvist is going with him, though. And is he going to be close enough to make a move on the run to turn 1? Charles Leclerc had a big slide there coming through the Sachs curve, but now as they get up towards the timing line, Rosenqvist is close enough to think about a move.
Yes, he's closer now than he was last time, but still not close enough going into turn 1 to be able to do anything about it. Antonio Giovinazzi has got it all covered at the moment, and this is where Giovinazzi can get away, because he's still chucking up spray right into the visor of Felix Rosenqvist, which is going to hamper him. As they go through now, they'll head up towards the Parabolica. Now, if Felix Rosenqvist can stay with him when they get to the Parabolica, just possibly there, he might be able to make a move.
If he's quick through the corner, and there's drama in the background as well. I was about to say he might even get a tow. Who have we lost this time? It's possibly Gustavo Menezes, and look at that, under a waved yellow flag. Dear oh dear, I've got a horrible feeling that was Nabil Jeffrey in the Petronas colours, who just about got away with that. We'll have a look at a replay, no doubt, shortly. It is not Menezes, it is Ryan Tveter who has come to grief. And so he's out of the race, there's no question about that. He's going to drag the car out of harm's way. and worked with the marshals, fair play, to get it parked so you don't need another intervention from the safety car. Right, so it continues to kick off. That Ryan Tweeter's demise, he was 14th. Up front, Giovinazzi making good his escape once more. We'll tell you about the survivors at the end of the lap because we are starting to lose them restart by restart. The order remains the same. Giovinazzi ahead of Rosenqvist, ahead of Leclerc, ahead of Dennis, ahead of Günther, ahead of Stroll. That is the top 6. And Felix Rosenqvist just cannot stay on the back of Giovinazzi, can he?
And that was with Giovinazzi just kicking the back end out a bit there, as once again he ran onto the painted curbs. But Giovinazzi does appear to have this all completely under control, and Rosenqvist has got nothing to date to him, as we see George Russell having a go there, and a very successful go for George Russell as well, getting past the Ziyong Li car.
And there's more progress to be made. There's Alex Albon in the Lotus F1 colours, and he's looking for a way past Callum Illett, but he's also got to defend at the same time. Giovinazzi is leading by half a second from Rosenqvist. 3rd is Leclerc, 4th is Dennis, 5th is Günther, 6th is Stroll, 7th is Pommer, 8th is Jensen, 9th is Maisano, and then 10th is Menezes, 11th is Ferrucci, 12th now is George Russell, in 13th is Illett, 14th is Albon from 35th on the grid. Stonking job that. Absolutely tremendous effort.
So last time around, 5/10 the margin. I think Rosenqvist is staying within a closer margin than he was after the last restart. And I'm just wondering, just looking at Giovinazzi, whether he's just beginning to get just a little bit ragged through certain turns, whether he's just not able to quite find the traction or the grip where he expects it to be, and isn't looking quite as clean and calculating as he did earlier on.
I think it all comes down to setup, doesn't it, this?
Maybe.
Because they qualified in the dry, they're running on the wet, although they will have had some wet running early on when they qualified for races 2 and 3. They were on a wet road, but it looks like the Carlin team has got a better handle on the setup. There was nothing to choose in the bone dry yesterday between them. It was only 14 thousandths that Rosenqvist was quicker than Giovinazzi. And a replay here, going off the road, you can see Sergio Sette Camara. That's Alex Albon getting past, he's on track. And the Moto Park Dallara in the gravel bed. Now, did Camara get himself back out of all of that, or are we going to have yet another visit from the safety car? In theory, he should be able to keep going because
he's still
wet gravel
rolling, isn't
compact,
he?
yeah, and he can drive through that. Rosenqvist, I reckon, is a Nats Quaver closer come the end of the lap. He's not given up, has he?
No, he hasn't. No, he hasn't. And I just think, having looked at Giovinazzi very, very closely, I just think Giovinazzi is just a little bit more wayward at the moment than Felix Rosenqvist.
If Rosenqvist can put the pressure on, that might play in his favour. He's got the spray, as you made the point a lap or two ago, but Giovinazzi is always the pioneer. He's the first person on every lap and every corner to find if the grip levels have changed. So he's always got to be slightly mindful that it might be a bit drier. It's not getting any wetter, but it might just be a bit drier, and therefore where he wants to push might be slightly different. So the race order remaining the same up front. We know this is a good circuit for Formula 3, and slipstreaming and overtaking, these conditions actually haven't helped the race hugely, have they?
No, they haven't. And to be fair, as we're reaching, what have we got, 5 3/4 minutes left in this race, yeah, these tyres now, they're going to be, you're going to need to find the moisture for them, aren't you? Because otherwise, they're just going to rag.
Yes, because it is drying. It's not the warmest of days, but it is drying, as you say. That's Sam McLeod, who has gone rally crossing. One of the other attractions here this weekend is the World Rallycross Championship, but they're not meant to be racing until tonight. Sam McLeod started early, and in super slow-mo you can see how much gravel is kicked up, and therefore that's going to be on the edge of the road.
Yes.
And that's another hazard for drivers.
That's just going to add, isn't it?
Well, it's punctures, it's grip, everything suddenly becomes a huge nightmare.
Now you just watch as it all clatters onto the tarmac now. To be fair, he does try and keep it on the grass for a little while, doesn't he? There is Giovinazzi then leading last time around 6/10 the margin, so it found another 10th over Felix Rosenqvist. I just don't think Felix Rosenqvist has quite given up the chase yet. There's only, as you can see at the top of your screen, it's changed from laps to time, as David predicted that it would. Still think he's keeping with him.
He is on this restart, you're right. Earlier the gap had built up, but he's not really letting Giovinazzi get away. Over the line they come, 6/10 last time, 6/10 this time. Giovinazzi has just done the best lap of the race. Don't rule out Leclerc, and another big slide by Giovinazzi. Charles Leclerc's done the absolute best in the third sector. Lap time still coming down. Further proof that the road is drying all the while. And yet another drama. Raoul Hyman well and truly beached in the gravel bed there, wheel spinning, but that, I'm afraid, is a bit futile because he ain't going anywhere. And how he got there is all because of this. Runs wide, finds a puddle. It goes left, it goes right, it goes off, goes across the gravel. And because it's wet and it compacts, it doesn't actually stop the car. What does stop the car in the end just is the tyre wall. That was close.
And there, the reaction on the Carlin pit perch there, yes, of that just being kept out of the wall.
Yeah, Raoul Hyman for Westtech. But disappointment that his race comes to an end. Right, 3.5 minutes to go in the first sector. Giovinazzi again was slightly quicker than Rosenqvist and therefore extended the margin. And the snatch vehicle goes to retrieve Raoul Hyman's car. Is that going to be able to be covered by a local yellow flag, or are we going to need a safety car again? I think because of where it is, it should be just a local yellow. Yeah. Pick it up and reverse the tractor and you're done, aren't you? But there is a school... Nope, safety car again. Safety car has been deployed once more. I was about to say, there is a school of thought these days that says you don't run a race, even under a yellow, with a snatch vehicle like that in the gravel because of Jules Bianchi's dreadful accident in Japan last year. And Sven Stopper, the race director, calls yet again for the safety car.
And with that time on the clock, the race is done, isn't it now?
You might get one lap, but pretty much we've got a result, I would say, yes. 3 safety car periods. I think that's the most we've had in a FIA Formula 3 European Championship race. I don't think we've had any more than 3. So 2.5 minutes. It depends in a sense where the end of this lap with the safety car comes in relation to the clock. They're going over the line now. 2 minutes. I think it's going to be the checkered flag this time, isn't it?
I don't think they're going to get another lap in.
Because a racing lap had been just below 2 minutes. Safety car... No, it's going to go to the flag, isn't it?
I think so.
So Antonio Giovinazzi, then, is the provisional race winner.
I still maintain that from the second safety car restart, if you like, Felix Rosenqvist did keep with him, but he was never quite able to seize the opportunity, was he? No. And therefore Giovinazzi is going to take the win. I think that's almost a surety with just 1 3/4 minutes left on the clock now. Don't see it. Don't see it.
I mean, the drivers are doing the right thing, as the teams will tell them, to keep the warmth in the tyres, because if they can squeeze one more lap out of this just by a few seconds, then it'll be run. But I just don't think we're going to get there, given the amount of lap left and the fact that it's a wet road anyway, and they're behind the safety car. So frustrating in a sense, but good for Giovinazzi because it gives him that win. Felix Rosenqvist will be pretty happy with that because he had a win, but then a 7th and a 12th in the other 2 races at Silverstone, so it brings him back into the mix. And Charles Leclerc, 12th in the first race at Silverstone, then a 2nd, then a win, now a podium. Top rookie. Looking good, looking good. So I think Leclerc is somebody that we need to keep an eye to, bearing in mind as well that he, the Monegasque driver, is in a Van Amersfoort car, and that was the team that ran Max Verstappen so effectively last year. It is going to be touch and go, this, but I think we are going to miss out on the chance of another lap.
We've only got, what, just 35 seconds left now, and where are they on the track? Just coming into our... sight from our comms booth on the home straight just about now, I would say. That's I don't think it's going to happen.
They're not going to get back to the line in 20 seconds, I'm afraid. So we are going to finish behind the safety car, and it's going to be a win for Antonio Giovinazzi. The safety car may actually just let them drive to the flag, even though they can't overtake, but at least to take the checkered flag because it's good for photographs. But effectively we know what the result is because
the checkered flag is being unfurled in front of me, so...
and the time's up. We've done 35 minutes. Well done, Antonio Giovinazzi. He did everything right. It was a good start. Battled his way past Felix Rosenqvist. And even the safety car gets sideways as it hoofs on. The safety car will be in this lap, but the race will be finished behind safety car. So we have confirmation that what we have is what we have. The drivers will go to the checkered flag purely, really, for ceremonial purposes. It's better than having a red flag to bring the cars to an end. So there's the checkered flag to end. A win for Antonio Giovinazzi then. And Jake Dennis very nearly mugged on the line by Max Günther there. He wasn't really on his toes, was he? So Antonio Giovinazzi, Felix Rosenqvist and Charles Leclerc, the top 3. We'll run through the full result in due course. You can see how they come across the timing line. George Russell frustratingly out of the points, and all the drivers being told to slow down because they then will swing sharp right through the back of the paddock to get to the podium ceremony much sooner. It was a race that kind of never quite developed, wasn't it? I mean, got some good drives, notably by Antonio Giovinazzi, but I think the conditions really hurt that race because nobody was ever really to get into a proper groove.
No, you're right.
And as far as the safety car interventions are concerned, again, that's just down to the weather because people were just slithering off. There were no really silly accidents, no big accidents, just cars losing traction and being in an inconvenient place.
And even in the race-leading position as Giovinazzi was, there were times through certain corners where, you know, he was a bit wayward. The grip just still wasn't there. And well, you can see now, you know, they're slowing down. There's still loads and loads of spray being chucked up. So my perhaps futile suggestion at the start of the race that maybe a dry line would develop, certainly not the case.
No, I think you're right in suggesting that slicks would be a good idea, but for tomorrow's race.
Thank you.
Dry by then.
Thank you so much.
So Antonio Giovinazzi, as you said, had his occasional wild moments, but he has taken the race victory. And despite the fact that we had to finish effectively behind the safety car, a win is a win, and having got himself into the lead of the race, he did not put a wheel wrong. So Antonio Giovinazzi takes his first win of the season, and importantly gives us 4 different winners in the first 4 races of the championship season,
which proves the you know, the strength and depth and talent that is in the FIA F3 European Championship this year. As last year, it goes from strength to strength, doesn't it? And as drivers come into this championship, some of the rookies that are in this championship this year, buoyed by the fact that last year, you know, a young man was elevated straight from this championship into Formula One, and of course that's what the sights of all these young contenders are on. Here's the result in full.
Antonio Giovinazzi wins round 4 of the FIA Formula 3 European Championship from Felix Rosenqvist and then Charles Leclerc. Jake Dennis 4th ahead of Max Günther and then Lance Stroll, with Marcus Pommer 7th ahead of Mikael Jensen. Brendan Maisano and Gustavo Menezes rounds out the point scorers. Ferrucci ahead of Russell, ahead of Illett. Albon 14 from the back, ahead of Matt Rao and Arjun Maini. Fabian Schiller ahead of Sergio Seta Camara, who we saw in the gravel on one occasion. Then it is Andy Cow in 19th. Looking further down the order, not many of those got to the end. We saw quite a lot of them with damage or with cars in the gravel bed, and the teams are going to be busy in anticipation of tomorrow's race. And of course Julio Moreno never even got into it, having had his dramas on the green flag lap.
P14 for Albon from the back of the grid is some achievement, isn't it?
Definitely.